Greetings, esteemed colleagues. Today I want to talk to you about Teacher Leader Model Standard 1. Standard 1 is all about fostering a collaborative culture. In my preparations for this presentation, I read through the entire document of the Teacher Leader Model Standards and found the word or forms of the word collaborate 12 times in the document. Every standard 1 through 7, uses the word collaborate at least once to describe the functions of that particular standard. So I believe that this standard, implemented correctly, will allow us to be more successful in implementing each of the Teacher Leader Model Standards. Rather than going through all 5 of the behaviors or functions associated with Teacher Leader Model Standard 1, I would like to focus on a resource that I believe exemplifies collaboration. It's the certificated evaluation process that the Moreno Valley Unified School District has put in place beginning with last school year. I'd like to show you the packet that we have provided for all of our both evaluators and those who will be evaluated, but not every page in the document is something that I'm going to go over with you. So I'll be scrolling through and focusing on specific pieces of the document. Let's first start here where the process is outlined in 3 phases. You can see there's first the pre-evaluation phase, followed by the observations, and then the final evaluation. The way I think this is designed, and the reason why I believe it is a really good example of collaborative processes, is because there is truly, it sets up a conversation between the evaluator and the person being evaluated, so it truly is a collaborative effort. In the pre-evaluation stage, the evaluator is assigned a specific evaluatees, if you will, and they meet together prior to any observations taking place. However, prior to the pre-evaluation meeting, the person being evaluated is actually going to go through a self-reflection process and come to the table with some information that will guide the process and the discussion with the evaluator. This is very different in the sense that in the past, evaluators were the ones who guided the discussion and the process. So this is opening up the opportunity for the person being evaluated to actually come to the table and open the discussion based on what they believe they need after doing some self-reflection. So following that conversation between the evaluator and the person being evaluated, that process will end, or that conversation will end with some goals being set. The person that's being evaluated comes to the table with this conversation after the opportunity to self-reflect and has in mind some goals that they would like to set for the year, and the evaluator is there to assist that person in reaching those goals. So they begin with that conversation. After the goals are set, then we move into the observations. You can see there's going to be at least one scheduled or formal observation. That would mean that the person being observed knows the time when the evaluator is going to be coming to the classroom. After that, there are at least 2 unscheduled observations, which teachers commonly refer to as pop-ins. Following those observations, then, we have the final evaluation conference, in which the person who did the evaluation completes a form that looks almost exactly like the self-reflection form that began the process in the pre-evaluation phase. So I'd like to show you what that form looks like. This is the self-reflection form that the teacher would complete prior to the pre-evaluation meeting. This guides their thinking in regards to determining their own goals. As you can see, it's based on the 6 standards for the California Standards for the Teaching Profession. So each standard is listed, and much like the teacher leader model standards, there are behaviors or functions embedded within each of the standards. A 4-point rubric is provided for self-reflection, and the descriptors for each of those levels on the rubric are listed above here. Now, to help a teacher determine exactly where they would rate themselves on this scale or this rubric, they are also given a document called the Teacher Evaluation Report Criteria here. So you can see again the standard and each of the behaviors or functions embedded within that standard. And then there are descriptors for each level of the rubric. So that can help guide the teacher in their self-reflection, determining where they would rate themselves on each of these behaviors. When they come to the pre-evaluation meeting with that self-reflection form filled out, they guide the discussion, the observations are conducted, and the final evaluation form that the evaluator completes looks like this. It's almost exactly the same as what the teacher came to the discussion with at the beginning. So again, we have the standard, each of the behaviors or functions embedded within the standard, a 4-point rubric with the descriptors. The evaluator also is able to look at each of those descriptors and determine where they feel the person that they're evaluating lies. Once these are completed, the difference is that the evaluator then will assign a rubric score on the overall standard, the overall rating for this standard. They are given guidance as to how to achieve those overall ratings here. So here's the criteria that a teacher would have to meet in order to receive an overall rating of a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1. And this is handed out to every teacher. So it's a very transparent process. So it sets up an opportunity for the teachers to collaborate with their evaluators and to create meaningful change within their own instructional practice. The evaluator serves as a coach throughout the year to help the person they're evaluating meet those personal goals that were set up in the very beginning process, that pre-evaluation conversation. So this is a process that we have worked very hard to develop and to roll out, and we're finding it having great response. Both evaluators and those being evaluated are very pleased with the process and find it very helpful. I will tell you that the process is very time consuming. And this is an issue for, of course, those who are doing the evaluating, because they're having to meet with a person several times, whereas in the past, basically it was one observation, and then meet with them, explain the process, their decision, and move on. But we didn't find that, even though it was not very time consuming, it certainly wasn't very valuable for either side of the table. So this is a process that we're implementing, have been implementing for about 2 years now, and finding it to be very valuable, although time consuming. I'm very proud of this process, and I think it's a very transparent process, and it sets up a coaching process. Again, it's all about collaboration. So I hope that you can see the connection that this process has with Teacher Leader Model Standard number 1 in terms of the collaboration or the group processes that are used to improve instructional practice.